Hello, this is Matt Willis for Boundary of Disaster. Last week I had the incredible privilege to get up close to the premier UK motorsport event you've probably never heard of. Now that's an absolutely crying shame in my view, and we'll be doing our best to change that. So, what is Coniston Records Week? Put simply, it's an event for powerboats to set speed records, but that doesn't tell the half of it. It's more or less the only event of its type in the world, and for many in the powerboat community it's the zenith of the season. It has some incredible history behind it, having been running since 1970, initially at Windermere in the Lake District, just a couple of miles away, and for about the last 20 years at Coniston. Now anyone who knows anything about Coniston Water will be familiar with it as the lake where Donald Campbell set most of his water speed records and ultimately lost his life. And Coniston Village will be the permanent home of his boat Bluebird K7 in time. This is actually the 50th running of Records Week, and despite plenty of ups and downs with the weather, it saw many records being broken, and perhaps more importantly demonstrated some wonderful camaraderie and friendship between the competitors. Anyway, rather than hear me talk about it, let's hear from the people who matter. This is Boundary of Disaster, Coniston Records Week 2022.
My name is Alison Worley. I'm the chairman of Coniston Records Week. The event is in its 50th year. It started in 1970 on Windermere, started by a member of the Windermere Motorboat Racing Club, Norman Buckley, who was a very eminent record breaker and was involved with Donald Campbell's attempts, and members of the Lancashire Powerboat Racing Club, to provide an event where everybody could have an attempt at a record. It wasn't seen as an elite sport. It was allowing all the drivers who are in just standard powerboat racing to be able to attempt a record. As I say, we're now in our 50th event. Unfortunately, due to COVID, changing in bylaws and the loss of a sponsor in the 70s, we've lost 3 years of the event. 2022 is our 50th year.
And how does it feel to be back after that layoff due to COVID?
It was an interesting couple of years. Unfortunately, at the same time as COVID started, we also had a change in the bylaw and a change in the national authority. So we did lose the event completely for a couple of years. I was concerned we would lose it completely, but the team that we have is very strong, and the event is seen as very, very popular. The tradition and the heritage that comes with it is seen as very special.
So the demand was there from the competitors they wanted you to
Absolutely.
keep it going?
Yes, it's seen as the pinnacle of the racing season. We do run the end of October, beginning of November, and it's normally towards the end of the racing season. There's a lot of people that have been racing through the year that use this as their final outing with the boat of the racing season. Quite often we'll get champions coming to attempt a record having won their national championship, or even just people wanting to prove their abilities with their race boat. It's seen as a very special thing to be able to achieve a record, whether it's British, even more special to achieve a world record. And the event that we run here allows people to do that without an awful lot of expense. It is the most well-established event in the world, and it's seen as the spiritual home of record breaking in Coniston.
On that a little bit, how important is it, do you think, that it's at Coniston, which has obviously got such fantastic water speed record history? Is that a big part of it?
Massively important to a lot of the drivers. Donald Campbell is one of their idols. He's a hero that they see as being the person to emulate, and to run on the same water that he was running on is just the icing on the cake.
And can you tell me a little bit about the different classes of boat and of record that people will be going for?
Absolutely. As in any sort of motorsport, there's the pinnacle, the Formula One of motor racing, but underneath that there's the grassroots of all different styles of boat, engine, and different classes of racing. Each one of them is very valid in its own right. From our point of view here, we have circuit racing, we have offshore racing, we have a hybrid of the two, which is called offshore circuit racing, we have hydroplanes, we have aquabikes. And the event is set up for any one of those classes to come and attempt a record. There's no specific times, there's no specific allocated slots. Everybody can attempt a record at whatever time they're ready to go. So in the past we've had times where we've had a very small junior boat go down, followed by a large offshore. And as I say, it brings the sport together in a way that no other event does.
My name's Jim Noon. I'm Records Week here. I'm the Chief Scrutineer and Measurer for the event. I'm also Chairman of the K7 Club, the Donald Campbell Club, and holder of quite a few records in the past. The last one I did on here in 2015 in my 1 litre hydroplane, 115 miles an hour.
And I understand you're the fastest British man.
Yeah,
alive,
currently I'm the fastest British man alive.
on water.
On water, yeah.
Wow.
Donald Campbell obviously went faster. Unfortunately, he was killed. In 2003, I did 155.47 mile an hour on Lake Windermere.
Wow. And in what kind of boat was that?
That was basically a bigger version of what I race, which is I race a 1 litre hydroplane. This was a 7.5 litre hydroplane with a supercharger.
So how did you get into powerboat racing and records in the first place?
Like a lot of people in sport, through family. My father used to race, and he in fact came to the very first Records Week in 1970, and I came with him as a fresh-faced 12-year-old as his mechanic.
So you've been here right from the beginning?
I have been here from the beginning. I haven't been to every one, but I've been to most of them, yes.
Wow. And the fact that it's at Coniston, is that important to with the sort of sense of heritage and the history of the location to the week itself?
It's important. I mean, Records Week's always been in the lakes. When the ban came in on Windermere, they wouldn't allow us to do Records Week. But because of the heritage of Coniston and the Campbell history, we managed to convince the Lake District Park Authority that it would be good for the park. It's only a week a year, and obviously it boosts Coniston, the local economy, by, we reckon, between 100 and 200k.
Quite impressive for a smallish event, given the number of people. But
well, when they did an economic impact on Windermere after it put the ban in, they reckon the average powerboater spent about 45 times as much as your average walker. So,
wow.
So yeah, not these people are rich, but they do.
Yeah.
Do go and spend some money. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what's the sort of the difference in the skills and the preparation to go out and set a record than you would have for racing?
Well, the record is all out. You don't get anything for coming second here. No trophies, no nothing. So basically, it's a case of setting up your boat so it's stable at the speeds. But the only gearing we have on these boats is really propellers.
Right.
And you put the biggest propeller you can effectively turn. You wouldn't use that in a race because you'd have no acceleration. Okay. But on here, you have a 2-mile run-up.
Right.
So it's basically setting off in 5th gear.
Right. What does it feel like heading over the lake at, up to 150 miles an hour?
It's an incredible feeling. The 150, it's like the water's just rushing towards you. It's almost like something off Doctor Who.
Wow.
Your vision is, and you're concentrating so hard, and at that speed to do the measured kilometre is about 15-16 seconds. So it goes pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, the feeling at the end of it, it's a cross between exhilaration and relief, totally.
Relief that nothing's gone wrong at that speed.
Yeah, well,
within that
in the
time,
boat I was in, to be fair, if something had gone wrong, I wouldn't be stood here talking to you now. So there's always that risk, and that is the risk with records. You are pushing everything to the limit. In a race, you can always back off and say, well, I'll try and pass them the next lap, or I'll get them next race. But in record breaking, it's usually 1 or 2 goes, and that's it.
So really every fraction of a second counts.
It certainly does, yeah.
And what sort of speeds do you reckon we'll be seeing this week?
Well, there are a couple of boats in the pits that are capable of maybe up to 130, 140 miles an hour.
Wow, okay.
But they need the conditions for that, and it has to be flat calm.
Yeah.
And it does happen sometimes at Records Week. You come for the week, you can spend all week just sat here looking at the weather, hoping it's going to calm down, and it doesn't quite happen. But that's record breaking.
Yeah, Absolutely, and obviously we all know how long Donald Campbell had to wait at this location for
months. He was waiting. Yeah.
I mean, it looks fairly choppy at the moment. What's it like when you've got that slightly rougher water?
Well, I've raced in water like this, not done a records run in it. You're just wasting fuel in the smaller boats.
Right.
But there's no suspension in a boat.
No.
So you literally are bouncing over the top of the surface.
Yeah.
The boats you've seen run today are called V boats, and they race offshore.
Oh, okay.
So they're used to a small.
They're a
chop
bit
like
more
this.
suited to.
Yeah, they're suited to this. They actually plough through the water.
Right.
Whereas the boats I set the record in, and the faster boats, they fly on top of the water. So a gust of wind.
So would they be more like your 3-point hydroplane?
Yeah.
And so very sensitive to wind.
Sensitive to wind, yeah, at the high speeds.
And I believe you were involved with the K777 a few years ago.
Yeah, no, I still am.
Okay.
Yeah, we're looking to. I think next year will be the year that we bring out 777.
Really? Oh, excellent. Okay.
It's not to break the world record. It wasn't built for that at all. But the British record still stands, still is there to be broken because it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Donald Campbell never took national records, he only took world records.
Right.
Allowing somebody else to come on and maybe take the British record. Also, since he took the record, the rules have changed dramatically.
Okay.
So the boat that I drive, the 777, has a full safety cockpit in it.
Right.
Which Campbell never had. And it has a large onboard air system, flotation, all that sort of thing. So yeah, hopefully we'll see how next year goes, but that's the plan really. To bring it out for next year. It's a while since it's been out.
Yeah.
But people have been busy. We've had the lot.
Of course. Yeah. A few last few years have been difficult.
They have.
Which is why it's great to see the event back and running really strongly.
It's good to see everyone here, and being the 50th Records Week, even better. Yeah.
Just for those not aware of K777 that Jim referred to there, it's a jet hydroplane inspired by Donald Campbell's Bluebird K7 that ran on Coniston back in 2011, though back then its team struggled to get it onto the plane, that is, to skim over the water rather than plough through it. It's exciting to hear that the team is thinking of trying again and that the British national records might be in their sights. Anyway, next it was time to talk to some of the competitors. There was an astonishing variety in both the craft and the people operating them, so I'll give a little bit of context here. We saw everything from aquabikes and jet skis to offshore racing boats, professional racing teams and weekend races. The first people I spoke to, though, were not from a racing outfit, though their driver Adam Brown is an experienced racer. This was the only factory team to take part in the week, Cox Marine, who are builders of marine engines, and they were looking to forge their product in the white heat of competition. Their boat, Pegasus, boasts a 3-litre twin-turbo V8 diesel outboard, and they were going for a new world record in diesel outboards. Let's meet them.
So I'm James Eatwell. I'm head of research and development for Cox Powertrain. So I'm the lucky man who gets to deal with all the interesting future technology projects and fun projects like this that we'll talk you through in a second.
Okay.
My name's Adam Brown and I'm the driver of this vessel. I am a part of this team, of course, but I'm not an employee of Cox. I'm independent and have been involved in powerboat racing and record breaking for the last 20 odd years.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Paul Hyton. I'm the product marketing manager for Cox Marine and responsible for marketing the CXA 300. Project Pegasus, or Pegasus as we are calling her. She's a 21-foot
Hallux Vector. She was built in about the mid-90s as a ski race boat.
Right.
Would have been originally fitted with a rather large American V8 inboard engine in the stern. We got her June time this year as a bare hull, nothing inside, and have spent the last few months converting it to run as an outboard engine, which has been a fair challenge at times. I mean, the engine itself is completely stock. It's a standard production engine that's come straight off our production lines.
It's a remarkable looking thing. I mean, if you could explain to me what's different about it from a normal racing powerboat.
Well, absolutely.
In terms of the engine.
The key element, if you cut it down to really simple bits, it's diesel.
Okay.
So almost every engine that you'll see here today, I'm sure, will be gasoline, petrol powered engine, and indeed most of the outboard engines, even not on the racing scene, are petrol powered. And we set out on a mission. I think we started out in 2007. Saw there was a gap in the marketplace for an engine that gave the fuel economy of a diesel but with the convenience of an outboard engine, and along the way developed that you see there. It's a 4.4 litre V8 twin turbo producing 300 horsepower.
Wow.
It has a peak torque somewhere around about 650 newton meters in the mid range. So it's a high torque, typical high torque diesel engine.
Right.
So that engine's designed to run for thousands upon thousands of hours. So we've not come here to sort of prove at this stage how much we can do with the engine. It's simply we can prove what we can do just with a standard production engine.
Okay.
And so we've already set the record this morning, just shy of 60 miles an hour. And the aim for the week will be to continue to ramp that up as we go through the week.
So that's a British diesel-powered powerboat speed
British
record.
diesel outboard powered speed record. That is the British record. We are aiming for a world record as well, but whilst we've achieved that nominally, we have to wait for ratification from the UAM to confirm that as an actual record.
Right.
And again, we're hoping that we're going to bring that up as the week goes on. Obviously, it's fairly rough and choppy out there at the moment, not ideal boating conditions, so we're looking for a bit of better weather and some tuning along the way.
Fingers crossed. So how does it handle? I mean, you mentioned the torque, but Adam, how does it feel out on the water?
Yeah, so it drives extremely well. The torque is very significant, so the acceleration is phenomenal.
Right.
It's very quick up on the plane. And then I've got engine trim, so the angle of the engine to the back of the boat, and I've also got trim tabs, which slightly extend the length of the boat. So I can drop those into the water, it brings the nose down slightly.
Right.
Which gives me two variables to control the craft. So it handles extremely well. It's very, very flat onto the water, and which obviously that's a feature of the whole design. But also it handles the outboard engine very, very well, and it actually handles the rough water remarkably well.
Right.
It's incredibly flat down, even over some quite significant rolling waves that are coming up from the south end of the lake.
Yeah, it looked quite lumpy this morning.
Yeah, it was very lumpy, but I mean, obviously we've done some testing, but we're getting to grips with the boat and how it handles at the moment. So it's interesting to see how it handles in the different conditions.
Yeah. I mean, have you any sense of what the maximum might be that you could do in perfect conditions?
That's what we're here to find out.
Okay.
We have many variables, the most significant of which is the propeller.
Right.
So we've got different propellers, and then we also have potentially different gearbox ratio to try as well. So I'd like to think that we could be running in excess of 70 miles an hour by the end of the week, once we have everything ironed out, the best choice of the different variables, and also hopefully some better weather.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And the fuel, that's just standard diesel?
I'll pass over to Paul to answer that one.
So part of our mission is to be a more sustainable engine manufacturer, hence why we're using diesel, because diesel typically will give you 30% more efficiency in fuel, but also around about 30% reduction in CO2 emissions.
Okay.
So you can go further, you can go faster, and you can reduce your carbon footprint in the same way in comparison to using a petrol engine. More importantly, this week we're also using hydro-treated vegetable oil as a fuel, HVO, which actually reduces the carbon emission, the CO2 emissions, by up to 90% compared to a gasoline and/or in fact a diesel engine. So we're keen to be sustainable in what we're trying to achieve, and by showing how two different fuels can be used at such an event, it's showing our audience and showing the people here what a diesel engine is capable of.
So what do you think the future is for an engine like this?
I think at the moment we're in a sort of situation where the bulk of the outboard market is running petrol gasoline engines. So there is a lot of scope in the market, certainly we believe, because we developed the product.
Of course.
For actually, in the very short term, to actually move that away from petrol towards diesel. Diesel obviously isn't a sustainable long-term option. Things like hydrotreated vegetable oil are absolutely fascinating in terms of where they can go. Obviously they offer really significant benefits, as Paul said there. We're also looking at things like hydrogen fuel.
Okay.
So we've got separate programs ongoing investigating the viability of hydrogen and other fuels. So the marine sector as a whole has recognised that really for a lot of these applications, I mean, bear in mind, yes, this is a race boat, but the way that engine is used, where you could sit at full power for hours and hours and hours, is exactly the same as you would get on a commercial boat.
Right.
So a commercial vessel could be doing the same thing. Now, batteries are wonderful, but one thing they don't do very well is have a density of power and energy that can sustain running at that kind of 300 horsepower power output level. So the marine sector as a whole is really looking around the route of alternative fuels, and it is things like hydrogen, methanol, ammonia type fuels. And I've seen nothing that I would disagree with that sort of direction on. Yeah, the question for us is exactly which fuel, and that's not just a question for what technology works for us, but also being able to refuel with any of these things, which fuel is going to become available in the future as well.
Where can people find out more about the project?
Yeah, if you want to find out about the project we've got, it's
Will do.
pegasus.coxmarine.com.
Right.
And that'll tell you all about the event and what we're doing.
Day 1 of Records Week provided an excellent demonstration of the peculiarities of the event and the location. The competitors aren't just fighting the clock, and their competitors, they have to negotiate conditions at the lake. Coniston Water is surrounded by hills with a range of mountains just to the west. It's often said of the Lake District that if you don't like the weather, you can just go to the next valley. At Records Week, some of the boats could run in all weather, but others needed it to be calm to run safely at speed. On Monday, the wind dropped quite dramatically just as the sun was setting behind the fells, triggering a race to set a time in the faster boats before the light failed. That race was won by Johnny Brewer in his F2 hydroplane, who grasped the nettle to be the first person to go over 100 miles per hour and end the day fastest of everyone.
So yeah, my name's Johnny Brewer. I'm here at Coniston Records Week. I'm in the S2000 class, which is a catamaran class. It's 2.5 litre Optimax Mercury engine on the back. Reaching speeds yesterday of 116 mile an hour. Which for me is the fastest I've been in a powerboat. So I started about 10 years ago, following in the footsteps of my dad and my granddad in the GT15 junior class. I then stepped up to GT30 and then to F4, which is very similar to the class I'm in today. Similar design of boat, just a bit smaller and a smaller engine. I've been doing that for about 4 years. Managed to set the world speed record in that class last year, and now taking a step up and doing it in the S2000 class. So for me, it's the fastest I've been in a powerboat. So been a great start to the week so far.
Yeah, and it was last time set yesterday and the fastest of the day.
Yeah.
So just as light was failing, it looked really dark from the shore. How was it out on the course?
Yeah, I mean it was better when you was out there. It certainly looked dark from where everyone else was stood, but once you're actually on the course, you've got a clear sight of light all the way down the course. It wasn't ideal because it was dark, but I mean, we're going in a straight line. Can't really go wrong. But the conditions were much better when it was darker and calmer. So for me, it was the ideal time to go.
How quickly did you find out that you'd set the record and best time of the day? Yeah.
So I sort of knew it was fast, but you never quite know how fast. And as soon as I got in, I got out the boat, and about 2 seconds after I got out the boat, they announced it over the tannoy. So when I heard 116, I was really happy. That far exceeds what I came to do.
Right, good.
And then it was a bonus that it was the fastest of the day.
So you're hoping to push that up further?
Yeah,
this
I'm
week?
hoping to get to the 120 barrier.
Okay.
We're just waiting on conditions. If it doesn't get any better, there's no point, because you just risk damaging the boat. But if the conditions drop off and there's another great opportunity, then I'll certainly take it.
What does it feel like to sort of do that kind of speed in this sort of boat?
You can't really explain it, to be honest. It's anything on water feels faster than it is.
Right.
You know, going that sort of speed in a car is nothing compared to a boat. And you're not actually really touching the water. You've probably got 2 inches of the boat in the water, so you do really feel like you're flying.
Wow.
And it's not a feeling you can describe to anyone else.
And what's the next step for you after the S2000? Is that what do you hope to achieve in this class, and then what comes after that?
So the actual boat is an F2 class. S2000 is effectively the same, but another name for the class. So
Right.
the class is F2.
Okay.
So done a little bit of F2 racing this year. Still in F4, which I say is the smaller one. So we'll see what happens over the winter. See what sponsorship we manage to pull in, and then make a decision for next year. Because as you can imagine, running an F2 is a lot more pricey than an F4.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So we'll see and make a decision over the winter.
In that clip, Johnny mentioned the F4 class, which is about equivalent to Formula 3 in cars, and the next driver I met had stepped up to it this season. This was a 16-year-old Oban Duncan who was taking part in her second Records Week, hoping to take a national record in the Clubman 1000 catamaran class. I also spoke to 17-year-old George Elmore in his first Records Week, racing a GT30 monohull. It was really good to see so many young people taking part with real dedication. It suggests that the future of the sport is in excellent hands, but also that participation is reasonably accessible and affordable. I also have to apologise for the constant interruptions from the tannoy in this next clip, but it does give an indication of the information that's broadcast to participants and spectators during the event. Here's Oban, who I spoke to on Tuesday morning.
So I'm Oban Duncan. I race the Formula 4 class. I come from Scotland. It's my first year in Formula 4, so I just wanted to see this year what we can get out of the boat really and see what it will do.
So this is your second year at Records
It
Week, I
is, yeah. I
understand?
brought a junior boat last year, yeah.
And how did you get on?
We got close to the record, but not close enough. We were about 1 mile an hour off last year, which is annoying. But this year, hopefully, we'll get something in this.
Yeah.
If we get out because of the wind.
Well,
hopefully.
fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So what's the record in this class currently?
70.89 is the one I'm going for.
Okay.
But there's a few you can go for, but that's the one I'm going for.
Okay. Absolutely.
So, yeah, we'll just go out and see what it does. We've got no idea how the boat will handle or cope in the conditions, so we'll just go out and see.
Have you made any particular adaptations for it for a flat-out speed run rather than racing?
We will do once I've been out once and got used to the conditions and the setup on the boat, and you sort of just have to play it by ear and do it run by run and take the data you get from each run and adapt the boat from there. But until you've been out, you can't really do too much.
Okay. So it's quite a methodical process then
It
to
is,
get
there's
the...
steps that you have to take before you even get here. When you get here, when you're going out, there's
Graham, can you hear
things
me?
to do. Yeah.
Yeah, your speed sound 71.582, returning 51.037, giving an average of 59.59.
So what are these kind of boats like to handle?
These are very different to the boats I've driven before. They get a lot.
Graham, apologise, you've established a national record on that run. Do apologise. Scrutineer, please, to Graham Leach. Scrutineer to Graham Leach.
They get a lot of wind underneath them and they can turn themselves over quite easily, so you have to be a lot careful. But I describe it as like being in a little bubble in your boat when you're racing against other people. You're just in your own little bubble and watch everyone else around you. But yeah, they're good fun.
And how much of a sensation of speed do you get when obviously you're in the closed cockpit there, and
You
but you're quite...
definitely feel the speed, even when you're just driving around slowly. You can definitely feel, because you're so close to. You definitely get used to it. But the first time I drove it, it was very different to anything I've driven before.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it's an impressive looking boat.
Yeah.
They're really cool. I mean I saw a couple of the bigger
yeah,
hydroplanes going out yesterday, and that was, you know, they look really impressive.
Yeah.
Sound really impressive as well.
Yeah.
Are
So
you
that's the
hoping
next
to
class
aspire
up.
to?
Hopefully, I can't do that until I'm 18.
Right.
So I've got a couple more years yet to do that, but hopefully I'll get there eventually. But in the meantime, just grow with this and see how we get on.
Hi, my name is George Elmore. I'm 17 from Chatham in Kent. I raced a GT30 class, but I'm currently going for the Clubman 1000 monohull record. Monday, I set a 48.32, but yesterday I increased it to 48.35 mile an hour.
And that's a national record?
It is a national record, correct? Yeah.
So you say this isn't your normal boat. Is this one you have much experience with? Or?
Well, yeah, this is the boat I've been racing since 2019, but the record I'm going for, there's no specific requirement as to what class or what specific boat you have to race. It's just a sort of like a collective thing, where it's anything under 1000cc.
Okay. I mean, it looks like out on the water, it looked like a really light boat, and obviously you had to have the flat conditions to be able to run. So, I mean, how was it on the lake? Obviously it was getting dark, the wind had only just dropped, there were still a few ripples out there. How easy was it to sort of get in the sweet spot and running fast?
Well, on the Monday, it was looking like bad conditions all day, so on the off chance that we did get a run, we set it up for fairly rough conditions. So on the water, it wasn't really gliding, it was ploughing because it was set up for heavier conditions. But yesterday we took a significant amount of weight out, trimmed the engine out one turn, and it was going a bit better, but it was still ploughing a little bit.
So there's potential for more for the
There's
rest of the
definitely
week?
more potential, a lot more potential in that.
Okay. Is that just down to the conditions, or are there more things you can do with the boat?
The conditions were perfect yesterday. Like I said, it's just we need to do some stuff one step at a time, so we know what to change and what not to change. But yeah, there's definitely a lot more potential in it.
Okay. Is this your first records week?
Yes, this is my first records week. Yes.
How are you finding it?
Well, obviously it would be better if I was getting more runs in, but obviously you can't control the weather. So I just need to take it as we go and try and make the best improvements that we can and get the best records that we can.
And how are you finding it different, just sort of setting a single flying kilometre to actual racing? What's the experience?
Out there it's very lonely. I mean, in a race you're always focusing on something, and there's always that little bit of vigilance you need to have, whereas on a straight line it gets kind of boring and lonely. You just got to try and see where you're going, try and get the best line, and hope for the best.
And so what does it feel like on the water when you're doing that kind of speed in a lightweight little boat like this?
Well, it feels risky because you can feel the wind hitting you, and you can feel it sort of lifting the hull out from the bottom, so you can feel it gliding. It's sort of sitting on the edge, and it's very nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I suppose you have to be on the edge to set the best time.
Yeah, get the best that you can possibly do. Yeah.
Well, it looks like tomorrow's looking a bit better, better than today, obviously, and the forecast for Friday looks pretty good. So
yeah, Thursday and Friday look really good. These are sort of high-speed waters, as it's called. So we'll definitely put our boat on the limit and try and go for the best speed that we can.
And what sort of speed do you have a speed in mind that you're hoping for?
Yeah, I mean, the actual record for this class itself is 59 mile an hour.
Oh, okay.
So I'd be happy with about 56, 57.
Okay. And that would be pushing the national record up by quite a considerable amount.
Yes,
but what was it before you?
So this is a new record.
Yeah.
So it got because weight classes and that changed.
Right.
The record got frozen.
Right.
So I've established it, obviously.
Right. So you're the first name in the book, essentially.
First name in the book for this class, yes.
Okay. Well, best of luck for the rest of the week.
Thank you very much.
The next interview nicely demonstrates two characteristics of Records Week. One is the boat, as I was talking to the crew of the offshore monohull Chica, demonstrating that all kinds of powerboat take part, not just lightweight lake racers. And the second is the crew. Stefan Hagen have come all the way from Germany to take part, and they're by no means the only international competitors. There's often a strong international contingent taking part at Records Week, and this is one of the important aspects of the event.
My name is Stef Skippers. My pilot's name is Hagen Jerzinski, and we're from Germany. And this is now our third visit to Coniston, and this year we've brought an offshore race boat. and we tried to break the world speed record for our class, which we did yesterday successfully with 76.7 miles per hour. I have to still work that out in kilometers an hour, but it's okay. We're happy. We're going to try and see if we could do the 80 miles an hour.
Oh, brilliant.
But it's depending on conditions, situations. There's a lot of wind. There's choppy water.
Yeah.
Although for an offshore boat like this, it doesn't really matter that much.
Right.
Only thing that hinders a bit is running against like 40-mile-an-hour winds, which does take away some speed.
Oh yeah. And it was a bit of a crosswind yesterday, I think, wasn't it? So it sort of hurts you in both directions, I guess.
Yeah.
As you say, this is your third Records Week.
Yeah.
What sort of experiences have you had before? And obviously you liked it and wanted to come back.
Yes, we came here last year with a pneumatic boat, PC-50 called Thundercat, and he actually broke the record, but he did not complete the flying kilometer. The boat caught some air and flipped and fell on him and broke 5 ribs.
Oh my God.
So kind of took a bit of the humour out of the situation.
Yeah.
But then he came back to say, we're pretty impressed with your NHS system.
Okay.
You have to wait a little bit, everything takes its time, but they did a real decent job fixing him up. And so, yeah.
Oh, glad to hear it. I used to work for the NHS, so not in a clinical role, but it's good to hear anyway.
Yeah.
So obviously we're a much bigger boat, much heavier boat this year.
Yes.
And it was interesting, because I got here yesterday, it's sort of late morning, and it was really quite choppy and windy, and yet boats like this were able to just go out and set times when the lighter stuff like this. Yeah. So is that attractive to you? Is that a reason for bringing this boat, or is that just more of a coincidence?
No, we had this boat, we do race offshore with the boat, so we thought, we've got it, let's go see what it can do. So we didn't bargain on it being so windy and choppy, but ultimately, like I said, these boats don't really care too much about chop. They're at their fastest when there's like, say, half a meter of chop.
Oh really?
You don't want all of the boat in the water, as little as possible, just the propeller in the water, then you're really fast.
Oh okay, so if you're bouncing across the top of the waves, then it's actually quicker than...
Yeah, there's less wetted surface, so
okay. Oh, that's interesting. So what does it feel like at those sorts of speeds then?
Well, for a beginner it'll probably be a bit of a giddy speed, but when you've done it so often, then it's just work. You sit there and like you're so concentrated on just getting the trim right, and then the angle of attack and things like that, and reading the water that it's a little bit like tunnel vision. You don't really see things around you. It's like you're totally focused on what you're doing.
And you're the co-driver. What is
co-driver.
your role specifically in the boat when you're on a record?
What we have is like the pilot has to focus just on the wave in front of him.
Right.
And mine is to have a better overview. Where we're going, like you look for areas where there's like say less wind or more wind or whatever, etc. So like you do the strategy, and then you also have to find the buoys. Especially like when you go racing, the turning buoys, they could be 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers apart, and you have to find them. And if you can't find them, and you do like a big arc, you waste time, and distance, etc. So because he focuses just on the wave in front of him, and the rest I kind of like I do navigation, I do the trim on the boat and things like that.
Okay. Are there any sort of special adaptations in the boat for setting records as opposed to racing?
No, not really. We in our class to get a record, you have to race or to bring the boat here as you would race it.
Right.
So we had to like put weight in the boat, etc., because the racing regulations like that. It's as if you've come from a race circuit when you come do it here. So you couldn't really tune the boat per se. You have to do it as the rules require. And then just bring all your propellers and try them out, because it seems to me that everywhere we go there's like different water needs different propellers. Our best propeller, for instance, is not working over here.
Right,
so
that's
we're
interesting.
a little bit disappointed. It's like because that's the one we put our money on.
And
it's not happening, But our second best one seems to be doing okay.
Okay, well, that's
so we actually did the world record with the second best propeller.
Right. I mean, are there any differences in the way you work as a crew for a record as opposed to racing? Obviously, it's a much shorter course, but
not really. No, this is fairly easy. I mean,
Yeah.
You know, it's just
Okay.
like say once you don't come here to find out if you're going to be quick.
Right.
You know, you do your homework,
Yeah.
and then you just come here to kind of prove that yes,
Right.
the homework was done.
The
right.
homework was right.
So
Excellent.
yeah,
Okay.
it's quite easy. You just come here and load up the boat and go.
Go.
And
Excellent.
confirm that the homework was done right.
Are you hoping to get out today?
Yes, we will go out today. I mean, we still would like to see 80 miles an hour. It's going to be tough, but it's sometimes you just kind of need like the sun and the moon. Everything must be aligned, and then you go and it works out. We're looking like for 1 or 2 miles an hour. It's just not much, but it's like it just like might just be that the right wind and the right choppiness in the waves, and so it
Yeah. I suppose
good.
the final few percent are the most difficult to.
Yes.
For the first 3 days, the weather was against the competitors, but Thursday dawned bright and still. It was finally time to see some serious speeds, and the records came tumbling. The top times, well over 100 miles per hour, were being set by Formula 2 hydroplanes, and their drivers are the waterborne equivalents of Theo Pourchaire, Felipe Drugovich, Logan Sargent, and let's meet a couple of them. First I spoke to was Ben Jelf, who I met on Tuesday evening.
So I'm Ben Jelf, I am 22 years old, I'm from Maidstone in Kent. I am currently the Formula 2 APX British Champion. Up here at Coniston to establish a new British record for the Formula 2 APX 4-stroke engine. Also here for S Infinity class, which is anything over 3 litre. That's the 2 classes I'm running for, and all depending on how quick we are, we may go for some more records yet.
So it was looked like a good run this evening.
Yes, so this evening was its first test run really with the modifications that we've done for record breaking. So we weren't too sure. So yesterday we sort of run out a bit of time. It wasn't quite right, so I had to abandon the run yesterday. But today, so we got the first test run. It showed good promise. So it's averaging about 113 for both runs up and down. So yes, we're quite happy with today.
Roughly, what's your target for the week if you can get everything perfect?
It's difficult because this engine is the first time it's ever been used on a speed records week compared to the older version of this engine. We're hoping possibly maybe 120 on an average, but we may aim higher, but so we're just not sure what this engine can or can't do really.
And I understand you've been developing this engine through the season.
Yes, so it was a last minute decision for us at the start of the year. I had a choice of either this new design of engine or a new boat really with the old design of the engines as well. So we decided we'd go for the new generation as that's what will be replacing the old engine really. And then throughout the year we've had gone through 2 different boats, all different setups, a lot of big modifications each time. Each time we've gone out with the boat though, it has got quicker and quicker each time.
I understand you've got quite a history with the sport, with you yourself and also your family.
Yes, I've been driving for a total of 12 years, but I've been sort of involved since I was pretty much born, to be honest. My father, he's raced since like the early 80s himself. My granddad, he was racing sort of from like the 50s, sort of 60s era. So we're very deeply rooted within the sport. So my father, he's a 3 times world champion in Formula 2. I hope to maybe one day reach that, but I'm not quite there yet. I'm the world champion in the juniors. I think my 3rd year of racing it was. I've achieved so much so far. I think currently I've got 16 British titles now. Throughout all the years I've been going through all the different classes. It's a really good achievement for me and my team.
I understand you're a bit of a fixture at Coniston Records Week, and you first went over 100 miles an hour at the age of 18, is that right?
Yes, that's right. I've been coming to Coniston for most years since 2011, from when I started in the juniors. In 2018 when I was old enough to go into the Formula 2 categories where they're capable of reaching over 100 miles per hour. That was a last minute decision as to what we were going to do. Records Week for us usually is a last minute decision, but we always enjoy coming here. But yes, 2018 I've got through to the K7 club, which then actually made me the youngest member to ever be invited.
Oh wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
If you can paint a picture, what's it like when you're in the F2 boat at 100 plus miles an hour? What's that feel like?
It's a very difficult thing to describe. One word I'll say is surreal. You're not quite sure it's happening because you're pretty much flying above the water, if anything. You're floating more than anything. You're not really in the water. They're more designed like planes, these boats. So you're all strapped into the cockpit. All you can really hear is like the wind just going around the cockpit, and it's just like the howling. You can hear the engine sort of roaring behind you as well. So yes, it's a completely surreal thing to feel. I couldn't describe it anything more than that.
No, excellent. And with racing with other boats around you, is that must be very different from a single straight flat out record run?
Oh yes, for sure. It's very, very different when you're racing. And there's like so a good sort of 10, 15 of you all going down in a line together, all heading towards that same corner, all looking for the best line. It's very exhilarating. It's not too bad when you're all running at the same speed, but as I say, when you're on your own out there, you can almost say it's a little bit lonely to a degree. And that's why it's just you, the water in front of you, and with the boat you're connected to the boat itself. You become one in that instance.
So I'm here with Sam Whittle, who set a new record this morning. Some quite incredible speeds, Sam.
Yeah, it was really good. Really pleased with the speeds I got. Can't complain about that one. We tried last year, but had a few issues last year with heating. Sorted that out for this time, and yeah, we got what we needed.
So it was 130?
133 we did, average speed, so 2 ways.
And that's a national record in...
World and national record in Formula 2.
Can you tell me a little bit about the Formula 2 boat? So there's several of them here, and they look similar but not identical, and if you could just talk me through it.
Yeah, well this is an Italian boat, it's called Baba. Massimo is the boat builder. It's actually an F1 boat we use.
Okay.
So he races in the Formula 2 class, so yeah, it's a great boat, does what it does, and I love it.
How does it feel to have the fastest time of anyone so far at Records Week?
It feels great, I love it. I love going fast. I want to try and go fast hopefully the next day or two, so if it holds up like this, then yeah, we should get some more times.
Saw you going out on Monday and Tuesday right at the end of the day, and they were sort of trying to squeeze in the faster boats when the conditions suddenly flattened off. What was it like? Was it sort of quite pressured trying to get in a time in that short slot, with the light failing as well?
It was quite rushed. I couldn't do the speeds I was doing today because I was losing light. I couldn't see much. I didn't want to risk it, You've got a week, so sort of get the feel for it and just see what the boat match. The boat's all okay, engines running okay, but I couldn't do the speeds I was doing today, and then in the light we had. Yeah.
I mean, it looks really dark back here. I don't know what it was like out on the lake.
But on the return, I couldn't see much. Right. That's how dark it was.
Yeah. And so how did it feel today with the lake nice and flat, nice light levels?
Oh, it felt perfect. The boat was sat there, just floated all the way through. It was beautiful just going through there. Loved it.
Is there much sensation of speed when you're up at that kind of MPH?
It doesn't feel quick because when the lake's so long and it's so wide, it just feels like you're sitting there all the way through. But yeah, obviously it's really, really quick, obviously. But yeah, it feels great.
Great. So is the skill of it more about the way you sort of set the boat up to run through the measured kilometre, or are you doing much when you're in the kilometre itself?
Yeah, before you get to the kilometre, you've got to get the boat, because it's putting big propellers, so you're trying to get the boat settled. When it's settled, you start getting the boat comfortable and trim right, so it's safe. You don't use race trim going through there because you'll be probably blowing it over. Right. So you'll be a bit more negative trimming, so the boat's just above the water flying.
Right.
And yeah, just let the boat take. You don't steer them, or let the boat take you across the lake, and until you get through the other end, then you have to trim in first, then you can back off.
Great.
And do the same again on a return run.
Okay. And can you tell me a little bit of your background in powerboat racing and record breaking?
Yeah, well, my dad's been racing over 40 years, and it was his record. I just took it off his world record.
Oh wow. Okay.
So yeah, since through him, I raced in the juniors, the GT classes, which is the GT15, GT30. Done a bit of offshore, and then done Formula 4, which is a smaller class. Done that for about 6 years.
Right.
Been racing around the world in that, in the F1 series.
Okay.
And then we got to Formula 2, so I've done 3 to Formula 2 now.
Wow. And what does the future hold?
Well, the future holds is going to probably be stick to the F2 Worlds again. I did do F2 Worlds for the first time this year's championship. Probably do it again next year. And then yeah, let's go from there really.
Records Week itself, is that for you just a good way to set the seal on the season?
I just love coming up here. I just love going fast as I can. It's a great atmosphere. Get to see, it's the only time of the year I get offshore and circuit, jet skis, everyone together at the same time. So it's a really good atmosphere. I love it.
Circuit racing in hydroplanes is not just for the aspiring Grand Prix drivers though, and there's a thriving club scene in smaller, less expensive boats. One that drew my eye was the OSY 400 driven by Thomas Mantrip, a tiny lightweight machine with a stock outboard. Let's meet Thomas.
I'm here at Coniston with Thomas Mantrip, who just set a new record in the OSY boat, I believe.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, OSY 400 class. So that's a British record I've broken. We're happy with it. So just seeing if we can get it a little bit quicker.
Remind us what speed you set?
65.35. That was set out on the average of both runs. So just over 1.5 mile an hour increase from the previous record. So we're happy with it, but obviously want to get it as high as we can. So we've got a few more things we can try, and just see what we can do with it.
Brilliant. With the lake like this, there's more to come.
Yeah, definitely. We got 2 runs, one Monday, one Tuesday. The conditions were safe, but not great for performance. So obviously, with it being flat, like almost glass, that's a lot better for performance. So,
could you tell us a little bit about this boat? Because I've never seen anything like it before. It looks absolutely crazy. It's a tiny, lightweight thing. So, like 2 people can carry it easily, and you're lying in a prone position to pilot it.
Yeah. So, when you say to most people, "Oh, I do boat racing," they imagine something that sort of would look like a ski boat, but as you can obviously see, that's nothing like that. It's some people have compared it to an iron board, so that's a complete flat design, very sort of aerodynamically designed to trap air underneath the hull, and the idea is that you just glide on the sort of 4 points of the lowest 4 points of the hull to give you the least resistance. Obviously, in turn, you do run the risk of sort of fairly major accidents, but that's where the setup comes into it. You have to have it set sort of at the maximum for performance, but at the same time being safe. So.
What does it feel like? It's like basically like you're flying down the lake at 60 plus miles an hour, face first. What does that feel like?
Yeah, so I've previously raced classes where you are sitting up, but a few years ago I took the change to the laying down sort of style of hull, and I personally think you do get a better feeling with it. If you sat upright, you're sort of quite high, and you're getting thrown around. With this, you're laying down, your body is flat with the boat, and you feel every move. So if you're feeling the boat lift, you can pull yourself forwards a little bit, and just you're constantly feeling how the boat is sitting. I mean, if you've done it, but if you haven't, you probably would never appreciate how the feeling is. But
it's almost like boat and driver are one.
Yeah, it's certainly sort of nothing else like it. So.
And I understand there's quite good racing with this class. There's a club in Norfolk where they've got sort of 13 of them, I think.
Yeah, so that's the club I'm from. Yeah, Lowestoft Broad Motorboat Club. Yeah, we race every Thursday throughout the summer months. We have 20 or so race events. We see sort of 10 plus boats every week with this class. It's fairly well supported throughout Europe as well, and in the US. So it is a pretty popular class as far as they go, mainly due to the fact that they're so cheap. You can buy a brand new engine for £1,800.
Wow.
This boat is obviously at sort of the top end of the scale. It's out and out to be the quickest, but you can get a cheaper sort of hull for starting out, a few £100s. It's not a silly cost. You don't really need any equipment for it. It is pretty well supported, and with the engine being stock, you can't modify it. You can't tune them in any way. There's boundaries within boat design as well. That keeps it fair and close for all competitors. So someone with a basic knowledge can do it and be competitive, whereas with a class where there's no sort of boundaries, you've got to have a sort of depth of knowledge of what you're doing. It makes it easy for the sort of privateer type racer to jump in and do well.
And so is the intention to maybe step up to F2 or something like that when in time, or are you
me personally at the minute, F2 I'm not really too bothered about. The class I'm racing here, OSY, I've sort of dabbled in and out of now and again just for something to do, but I actually myself race Formula 125, which is kind of, it's a totally different category, but at the same time it's like the next step up.
Right.
So this is OSY, which is stock. the Class I race is a formula and it's open. So the only restriction is the capacity of the engine, 125cc.
Okay.
Pretty much all other variables are open. You can do what you want. Boat design is pretty free. The engine can be whatever you want.
Wow. Okay.
So that's where you see a sort of bigger gap in speed from competitors because it's a lot more down to the driver and the team to set the boat correctly and to find the best speed. But to me, that's proper racing. F2, yes, it's good, but the engines are the same.
Right.
The props are, a lot of money. You're talking big bucks. You can go a lot quicker, have a lot more, things that you can work with. But that's just me. I want to be working with it, and if I can do something to make it quicker, I'll do it. So there is a similar class within sort of my division, Formula 500, which is a similar boat to F2, but with a 500cc two-stroke engine. So they're a similar sort of speed, but just completely different sort of beast, if you like.
So the engineering side of it's quite important to you, is it? And the being able to experiment with your equipment and
definitely
improve the speed that way.
My profession is within engineering, so it's sort of a hobby and career kind of combined into one, and that's partially why I have more interest within the class I run usually, because it's so open. You can do a lot more yourself. So, for example, all the parts inside the boat I've made myself. It's all open, so there's room there for the kind of engineering hobbyist to tinker, if you like.
Excellent.
So it's interesting.
Thanks very much. Good luck for the rest of the week, and congratulations on your record.
Thank you.
There's just time to catch up with some of the competitors towards the end of the week to see how they've got on. First, let's hear from Oban again during a heavy rain shower in the middle of an otherwise fine Thursday.
I'm back with Oban Duncan at Coniston Records Week. Oban, you've been out this morning and set a new record, I believe.
Yes, I did. Yes, the first run I had in this morning, I beat the national records. So yeah, it was a good run.
And what speed was that at?
So I think I set it at average 73. I got 74 one way and 72 the other way.
Right.
Something like that.
There's quite a big increase from your speed earlier in the week.
It is, yeah. I got 66 earlier in the week, which wasn't anywhere near what I wanted. But I was definitely happy to get a better increase.
Do you think that was about maximum for what you could manage, or do you think there's more in you and the boat?
Definitely think there is more in me and the boat. You've got to try and dial it in and see what we can do with it. But there should definitely be some more we can do with it.
So do you have a new target speed?
I don't really have a target speed, it's just as quickly as we can possibly get it, which I'd like to say 78 by the end of the week, but that might be a little bit optimistic, but yeah, we'll see.
Well, fingers crossed, good to have something to shoot for.
Yeah, definitely.
With the conditions like that on the, how is the boat feeling?
You don't really feel much of it because there's not much in the water.
Right.
You don't feel much, but that's how you know when you're running quick, and it just feels really nice when it's sitting on top of the water and it feels quick. It does feel nice.
Good stuff. It looked from the jetty like there was quite a lot of kind of pitching and porpoising as you were getting it up to speed. Do you just have to hang on to that?
Yeah, most of the catamaranes do it while they're trying to get up to speed. It's just once it's trying to build itself up to a decent speed, and then it'll get a bit quicker. But yeah, it's something you have to get through, and then you'll get your speed.
So it just looked like just now you thought you were going to get out for another run, and then for whatever reason they've sort of called a halt for things. How much is it frustrating something like that for this week when you know you're just kind of hanging around waiting for the all clear, and you might get it and you might not? Does that make it harder when you get out there?
Yeah, it does, but once you're out on the run you don't think about anything else. The only thing you think about is being out and seeing how fast you can get. If you think about other things then you just won't get as quick and you won't be as close to that.
And in terms of the run itself, what are you actually doing when you hit the measured kilometre? Are you working the boat much? Are you trying to keep everything as still as possible?
Not really. As soon as you are in the kilometre, you should be at your maximum speed, so that you can carry that through the full way of the gate. But you are just watching the water in case there's a bit of wind or seeing if you can get it to go a little bit quicker. You just have to, as soon as you're in the kilometre, that's the bit you need to focus the most and make sure the boat's settled. Really, but yeah.
Well, it's absolutely shucking it down with rain, so I think we'll call a halt there. Thanks ever so much, Oban.
Right.
Congratulations and good luck for the rest of the week.
Thank you.
We've met offshore racers and circuit racers, so it's only right to talk to some offshore circuit racers before we wrap up. First off, Claire Williams, who is the nav, or navigator, on one of these V-bottomed monohulls, and then John Bunyan, whose story was one of the best of the week in my view, striving for a record all week long only to grab it just as the clock ran down.
So my name's Claire Williams and I nav for Matt Willis. So we've got an 18, trying to hit the record of, I think at the moment it's standing at 68.5. I think we're averaging 64 at the moment. We haven't had many runs this week, so we're hoping to get out a couple of times this morning, but I don't think we will. But yeah, so I nav, we do offshore, so we do rough water mainly, so the boats are set up sort of like to go rough water rather than flat water. We obviously race in the sea, not on lakes as well, so that makes a difference. So yeah, we've got an F Sport class, F1 class, F2 and F3. Yeah, so we all race together, we set off at different times, and then the navigator just needs to watch out for boats. We always have a chicane in our race as well, so yeah, we race for 25 minutes plus 1 lap at a time.
So you're keeping Malc on course and warning him about other boats and
yeah, where the next buoy is and whatnot. So normally I'm sat side by side, but he's kind of tandemed it a little bit.
Yeah, I see the layout of the you've got a sort of staggered layout of the seats in this boat, with the driver's seats to the right at the front, and the is that just to sort of move the weight distribution slightly?
Yeah, it's just for now. We did run it at the beginning of the week. We did run it side by side, but you know, we're just giving this a go now. So.
And do you think the record's within reach today?
It depends how many times we get out. It really does. There is quite a few of us going for it as well. I think there's 3 of us on the water going for it.
Okay,
but
so
there have been 4 or 5 of us up here all week.
Right. So is it better when there's a bit of competition for over a record between several sort of boats of the same class, rather than when you're just up on your own?
It is, yeah, but it is what it is. We all do it for a bit of fun. You know, we all race all season together. We're all friends, so you know, it whoever gets it, well done type thing. So, you know, but we're all trying for it, obviously.
I'm here just after the end of Records Week 2022, and I'm with John Bunyan, who on your last run, I believe it was, set the record you've been trying for all week.
Yeah, 3 runs before the end of the day. I think they said they'd done 168 runs, so I'm 165th. Actually broke the record that I've been chasing all week.
And which record was that?
It's OCR F2 record.
And your speed?
About 61.5 miles an hour. I actually can't remember. My mind's gone blank.
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand you were just a small amount off that for several days before you were able to just set that time towards the end of the week.
Yeah, that's right. We ran down Monday and we ended up 9/100ths of a second shy of what we needed, and then sort of following on from that, just couldn't really get close to it. And then this morning we managed to get it down to 6/100ths of a second.
Right.
And then fortunately we just managed to drag it on virtually the last run of the day.
So was that just about conditions, or was it some changes you'd made to the boat, or was it just things fell right?
It was just bottled, to be honest. It was just one of those well, it's the end of the week. If you bust it, you bust it. And it literally was like that. It was quite an unsettling ride down there. The boat was quite lively. Navigating the showers is actually incredible because she just doesn't say anything. She just hangs on
And she was actually navigating for 2 other drivers.
She's been in 4 boats this week, I think.
One of the things that struck me about this week is that people have been sharing crash helmets, been sharing propellers, been sharing navs, crew members, and it just seems like there's that real kind of sense of camaraderie and everyone helping each other.
And it's not just that. I mean, tonight we will all be celebrating everybody else's records, even if you don't get one. If I hadn't have got it, I would have still been celebrating Rob's record with him because I know what it feels like. You're part of it anyway.
And did I hear that after you'd taken the record, Rob went straight out to try and take it back?
Yeah, he done some sort of desperate last-minute changes like we all do.
Yeah.
And fortunately for me, it didn't come good. But the bottom line is he actually still gets a record anyway. So
because you set one, that's yours, whether someone takes it off you, whether you're a current holder or not. So
right. Yeah, you said it. And it doesn't go away just because somebody's gone faster.
No, so that's remarkable, and I think I heard on the tannoy just as they were wrapping up that was it something like 68% of competitors actually claimed a record some point this week.
It's probably about right. It was 65% this morning, I know.
Right.
I was in the conversation, so obviously some more records have tumbled during the day.
Well, it's been absolutely fantastic to watch, and to be able to see people chipping away at their times, and just must be really satisfying, particularly as it's on the last day.
Very much so, yeah. You get a little bit complacent if you do something too early in the week, which I think is what I did, close to it, thinking, oh well, I won't worry too much, we'll do that tomorrow. But it doesn't work like that.
Particularly as the conditions today, it's been so changeable. It started off really flat, but with the cloud on the lake, and then it cleared, but then the wind got up a little bit, then we had some rain coming through, then the wind would get up and then drop again, and it just seems like, is it always like this?
Yeah. In saying that, last year it wasn't. Last year was superb. It was like the summer's week all week.
Right.
But yes, generally it is. Today actually has been a little bit exceptional because there's been quite a lot of gusts that seem to have come from nowhere. But it's the luck of the draw. You go for it. Sometimes you get on top of it. Sometimes you don't.
And then there's always next year.
I hope so. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Overall, at Coniston Records Week 2022, in its 50th event, there were 7 world records set, 5 of them also British national records, 1 French and 1 German national record too. In addition, there were a further 14 British national records. More than half the competitors came away with a speed record that can never be taken away from them, even if it's beaten. At that time, they were the fastest person in that class. The world of powerboat speed records seems incredibly healthy on the evidence of this week. I'd like to thank the organisers, Press Officer Glyn Cunliffe, and all the competitors who welcomed and took the time to speak to me. Hope to see you all next year.
Thanks for sticking around and listening to this episode of Boundary of Disaster. Please, if you can, like and subscribe, leave us a review because that would be amazing. It helps with all the algorithms, and that means people can find us a little bit easier. Of course, if you can tell your friends as well, you never know, they might start listening to us as well, which would be ace. If you fancy supporting us, there's a Patreon page. The link is in the description. Also check out the other links. We've got a link tree there that goes to all of our socials, including the new TikTok, which Ellie has got up and running, and the rest of us still don't know much about. So, until next time, thank you so much. Bye.